The galaxy had always seemed endless, a place full of stars, planets, and civilizations thriving in their own corners of space. For countless millennia, humans had looked up at the night sky with awe, imagining what lay beyond their small blue planet. Yet despite all their curiosity, humanity had lived in relative peace, believing that their solar system was a tiny, insignificant part of the grand cosmos. That illusion was about to shatter forever. It began with whispers from the far reaches of the universe. Reports trickled in from remote outposts and exploratory ships. Entire star systems were disappearing. At first, people thought it was natural disasters or technical failures. But soon the horrifying truth became clear. A force far beyond anything humans had encountered was sweeping across galaxies, consuming everything in its path. Massive fleets of unknown origin appeared suddenly, obliterating civilizations that had lasted for thousands of years. Stars went dark, planets were reduced to debris, and the cries of alien populations echoed across space through intercepted transmissions. It was a silent, unstoppable wave of destruction, and nothing seemed capable of stopping it. Earth, for all its technological advancements, was still centuries behind the invaders. The leaders of humanity knew this, and panic began to spread among colonies and space stations. Messages from distant worlds arrived in fragmented form, filled with fear, confusion, and desperation. The Human Council convened emergency sessions, debating what could be done to defend against an enemy they barely understood. Scientists worked tirelessly, analyzing the alien tactics, technology, and patterns of destruction, trying to uncover a weakness that could be exploited. Military strategists drew up countless battle plans, none of which seemed feasible against such overwhelming odds. The feeling of helplessness was palpable, and yet giving up was not an option. Humanity's survival depended on courage, innovation, and determination. Amid this chaos, the crew of the Horizon emerged as a beacon of hope. The warship was unlike any other in human history, equipped with experimental technologies and weapon systems that had never been tested in real combat. The selection process for the crew was intense. Only the best pilots, engineers, and strategists were chosen, those who could handle the pressures of near-certain death and make split-second decisions with lives hanging in the balance. The crew trained relentlessly, enduring grueling simulations that pushed them to their limits. They studied alien technology from captured fragments, learning how the invaders moved, how they communicated, and how they attacked. Every day they reminded themselves of the stakes. Failure was not an option because the fate of all human life rested on their shoulders. Life aboard the Horizon was a mixture of tension and camaraderie. The crew formed bonds that went beyond professional respect. They relied on each other in ways civilians could never understand. Long hours in the control rooms, in zero-gravity corridors, and in the observation decks looking out into the void taught them patience, precision, and resilience. Each crew member knew that their skills could mean the difference between survival and extinction. Despite the constant threat looming over them, they found small ways to maintain hope. Shared meals, quiet conversations in the observation deck, and stories from home reminded them of why they fought. Humanity's legacy, after all, was more than technology and planets. It was people, families, and dreams that deserved protection. Meanwhile, Earth's leaders realized that conventional strategies would not be enough. Fleets of human ships were being assembled and upgraded at record speed. But it was clear that even a massive fleet might not withstand the alien armada. The Horizon was humanity's gamble, a single warship that carried the hopes of billions. Its experimental shields and weapons were humanity's best chance to survive the coming storm. The warship became a symbol, a statement that humans would not surrender even in the face of impossible odds. Messages of encouragement were sent to the crew, and entire nations watched as the Horizon prepared to leave the safety of Earth's orbit. At the same time, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly behind the scenes, fine-tuning the ship's systems. They pored over alien technology and human engineering, creating devices that could detect enemy movements, disrupt communications, and even anticipate attacks. These innovations were risky, and no one could guarantee success. Every test was a gamble, and every decision had weighty consequences. Yet the crew believed in their mission and in each other. They were ordinary humans placed in extraordinary circumstances, but it was precisely their humanity, adaptable, creative, and determined, that made them different from the alien invaders. As the Horizon prepared for departure, The reality of the mission settled in. Beyond Earth's protective atmosphere lay darkness and uncertainty. The galaxy had already lost countless civilizations, and the human crew would be the next line of defense. They would face an enemy that had never been defeated, in environments that were hostile and unfamiliar. Fear was present, but it was paired with courage. Each member of the crew understood that what they were about to do was not just a battle. It was a fight for the survival of every human being, for the continuation of life as they knew it. Finally, the day of departure arrived. The Horizon launched from Earth, leaving behind families, friends, and a planet watching with hope and anxiety. As it ascended into the void, the crew felt the weight of responsibility pressing on their shoulders. Stars stretched into lines of light as the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading toward the edge of the galaxy where the alien threat awaited. Every second, every decision, every action mattered. The calm before the storm was over. Humanity's most daring mission had begun, and the fate of Galaxies rested in the hands of those who dared to stand against the impossible. The story of the Horizon and its crew reminds humanity that even in the darkest times, courage, preparation, and unwavering resolve can ignite hope. They were ordinary people thrust into extraordinary circumstances, facing enemies that had shattered countless worlds. But they believed that one ship, one crew could make a difference. And as the stars stretched before them, unknown dangers looming in every shadow, they carried with them the most precious human trait of all, the will to survive and protect everything they loved. The calm before the storm had ended, and the first chapter of humanity's fight for survival had begun. The moment humanity had feared for decades had finally arrived. From the far edges of human-controlled space, massive alien fleets appeared without warning, their presence more terrifying than anything anyone had imagined. Ships of unimaginable size and power moved with eerie precision, faster than human eyes could follow. Entire star systems that had once been thriving now lay in ruins. Communications from these distant worlds came in fragments, distorted cries, desperate warnings, and final transmissions of hopelessness before silence claimed them forever. Humanity was staring at an enemy whose power dwarfed anything it had ever known, an invader that seemed unstoppable. Earth's defense systems went into overdrive. Alarms blared across space stations and orbital bases as fleet commanders scrambled to assess the scale of the threat. Satellites relayed data back to the military council, which worked frantically to coordinate a response. Panic spread quickly among colonies and outposts. People watched the skies with growing dread, realizing that the universe they had always seen as infinite and safe was suddenly hostile, unforgiving, and deadly. Despite the fear, humanity refused to surrender. The council knew that if they gave in, billions of lives would be lost, and everything humanity had built would vanish. The Horizon, humanity's most advanced warship, was deployed as the spearhead of the first contact mission. Unlike any other vessel, it carried experimental weapons and defenses that had never been tested in combat. Its crew was the finest humanity had to offer, trained in strategies that pushed human ingenuity to the limits. The mission was simple in theory: scout the alien fleet, gather intelligence, and identify weaknesses that could be exploited. But in practice, it was a mission that teetered on the edge of suicide. No one knew what awaited them beyond the reaches of the safe human territories, and every scenario involved high risk, high stakes, and near-certain danger. As the Horizon approached the alien armada, the crew's fears became reality. The scale of the enemy fleet was incomprehensible. Ships stretched across light years, their formations so precise that it seemed almost as if they moved with a single mind. The Horizon's sensors struggled to keep track of every vessel, and even the most experienced officers were stunned by the sheer power arrayed against them. These were not ordinary ships. They were engineered for destruction on a scale humans could barely fathom. Entire fleets from previous civilizations had been annihilated, and the signs of that devastation were visible even from light years away. The darkness between stars was littered with the wreckage of worlds, remnants of once thriving colonies now reduced to nothingness. The first encounter was sudden and brutal. Alien scout ships, sleek and deadly, appeared out of nowhere, moving faster than human vessels could anticipate. Their weapons unleashed beams of energy that tore through the void, destroying human drones and testing the Horizon's shields. The crew was thrown into immediate combat, forced to respond with every ounce of skill and training they had. Despite being outnumbered, they maneuvered with precision, dodging attacks and returning fire. The tension was unbearable. Every mistake could mean annihilation. Yet, amid the chaos, the crew of the Horizon began to understand the enemy's patterns, noticing slight delays, predictable movements, and weaknesses in their formations. On board the warship, the crew worked like a perfectly tuned machine. Engineers monitored energy outputs, recalibrating shields and weapon systems in real time. Pilots executed maneuvers that tested the limits of both the ship and themselves. Strategists calculated angles of attack and escape routes with lightning speed. Even in the midst of battle, small acts of humanity shone through. Jokes, brief smiles, and words of encouragement helped maintain morale. These moments of connection reminded them why they were fighting. They were not just defending a planet or a system. They were fighting for the survival of all human life. Meanwhile, communications teams worked tirelessly to intercept alien signals, attempting to decipher commands and gather intelligence. They discovered that the alien fleet operated with a coordinated network that allowed instant communication across light years, a feat humans had not yet mastered. The alien strategy was flawless. They moved like a single organism, anticipating human movements and responding instantly. Yet even with this advantage, they showed small cracks. The Horizon's sensors detected vulnerabilities in their formation, isolated ships that could be targeted to create larger disruptions. The crew realized that their experimental technology, combined with human ingenuity, could exploit these weaknesses, but only if executed with precision and bravery. As the battle continued, the stakes became increasingly clear. This was more than a reconnaissance mission. It was humanity's first true test against an enemy that had conquered countless galaxies. The crew witnessed scenes of destruction that would haunt them forever. Entire planets reduced to ash, colonies erased from existence, and the eerie silence that followed the alien advance. It was a stark reminder of what was at risk, and it fueled a determination unlike anything they had felt before. Every decision, every calculation, every action mattered. The smallest mistake could lead to catastrophe, not just for the Horizon, but for all of human civilization. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Horizon's crew began to gain confidence. They executed daring maneuvers, evading enemy fire and striking at vulnerable points in the alien formation. They collected critical intelligence, mapping the fleet's layout and identifying command structures. Every successful action boosted morale, proving that humans, with their adaptability and creativity, could challenge even the most powerful foe. The crew realized that they were not just observers of humanity's final chapter. They were active participants in writing a new one. Each success, however small, was a reminder that hope could exist even in the darkest void. As the mission progressed, the Horizon's crew faced internal challenges as well. Fatigue, fear, and the psychological toll of witnessing mass destruction tested their resolve. Long hours in zero gravity, constant alertness, and the weight of responsibility created tension among the crew. Yet these challenges forged an unbreakable bond. They learned to rely on one another completely, trusting each other with lives and decisions. In moments of crisis, their coordination and unity became their greatest weapons, proving that even a single human warship, when operated with skill and courage, could stand against an enemy that had crushed entire galaxies. By the end of the first engagement, the Horizon had survived encounters that should have been fatal. They returned with invaluable intelligence, evidence that the alien fleet was not entirely invincible. Though the enemy's power was overwhelming, the crew had discovered patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities that could be exploited in future battles. They had faced the unimaginable and lived to report back. Humanity had seen the face of annihilation and had not flinched. The Horizon was no longer just a warship. It had become a symbol of defiance, courage, and hope, a single beacon in the vast darkness of space. In the aftermath, the crew reflected on what they had witnessed. Entire galaxies had fallen, yet here they were, still alive, still fighting. They knew that this was only the beginning. The alien armada was massive, and humanity was still far from fully prepared, but the experience had taught them invaluable lessons: strategy, coordination, adaptability, and above all, the power of human determination. Every crew member understood the stakes. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting to prove that humanity, despite its limitations, could resist the impossible. The mission of the Horizon in these early encounters set the stage for what would become a legendary campaign. The warship's actions inspired other fleets, colonies, and civilians across human-controlled space. Stories of courage, ingenuity, and resilience spread, creating hope where despair had once dominated. Even as fear persisted, humanity had begun to understand that one determined force, equipped with the right knowledge and driven by unyielding will, could challenge the unstoppable. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, hope had a shape, a name, and a crew willing to risk everything for the survival of all. The crew of the Horizon had faced the alien armada and lived to tell the tale, but they knew that surviving was only the first step. The aliens were relentless, their fleets vast, and their technology far beyond anything humanity had yet seen. Yet aboard the warship there was hope, a secret that could change the course of the war. The Horizon was not just a ship built for defense. It carried humanity's most daring creation, a weapon so advanced that it had never been tested outside simulations. Its true power remained a mystery even to many on board, but the engineers and strategists believed it could be the key to turning the tide. The secret weapon was unlike any conventional armament. It relied on an advanced energy system capable of disrupting the alien fleet's formations. It could, in theory, create massive waves of interference, temporarily disabling enemy ships, their communications, and even their weapon systems. This meant that one well-timed strike could create chaos in the enemy ranks, giving the humans a critical advantage. But the weapon was untested in real combat and required perfect timing, precise coordination, and unwavering courage from the crew. Any mistake could destroy the Horizon and doom humanity in the process. Despite the risks, hope burned brighter than fear. As the Horizon approached the alien fleet again, the crew prepared for the impossible. Training simulations had prepared them for every conceivable scenario, yet nothing could replicate the experience of facing an enemy that had destroyed entire galaxies. Every crew member understood their role down to the smallest detail. Pilots practiced evasive maneuvers, engineers calibrated energy systems, and strategists studied the alien formations. It was a delicate dance of precision and timing, where even a fraction of a second could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. The first skirmish against the alien scouts proved how dangerous the enemy truly was. The ships moved with incredible speed and precision, attacking in coordinated waves that tested every skill the crew had. But the Horizon's advanced shields held strong, absorbing blasts that would have obliterated conventional vessels. Engineers worked around the clock, adjusting energy flow to optimize the shields and redirect power to the experimental weapon. Slowly, the crew began to understand the alien patterns, noticing subtle delays and predictable behaviors in the scouts' movements. These observations would be crucial in deploying the secret weapon effectively. The psychological pressure on the crew was immense. They were human, facing an enemy that seemed inhuman in its efficiency and firepower. Yet camaraderie and trust became their greatest strength. Officers encouraged one another. Pilots shared tips and tricks for maneuvering in tight situations, and engineers stayed in constant communication with strategists to adjust calculations on the fly. Every member knew that failure was not an option. They were the first and possibly the last line of defense for the human race. Their courage and ingenuity were humanity's only hope. When the time came to activate the secret weapon, tension gripped the entire ship. The alien fleet had formed a massive blockade, their forces stretching across light years, their command ships at the center. The crew of the Horizon had calculated the timing carefully. Pilots flew close to the enemy lines, drawing attention and positioning the ship for the perfect strike. Engineers monitored every system, ready to make split-second adjustments. Strategists coordinated the maneuvers, ensuring that the energy pulse would hit precisely where it needed to. Every second felt like an eternity as the crew held their breath, knowing that the fate of billions depended on their actions. When the weapon was finally activated, the results were staggering. A pulse of energy surged outward, spreading like a ripple through the enemy formation. Alien ships shuddered as their systems flickered and failed temporarily. Communication networks broke down, and the once perfect coordination of the alien fleet descended into chaos. It was a moment of triumph, proof that humanity's ingenuity could challenge even the most powerful enemy. The crew of the Horizon had turned theory into reality, demonstrating that one ship, armed with courage and technology, could alter the course of events on a galactic scale. The first successful deployment of the weapon was not without danger. The energy pulse generated backlash that threatened the Horizon itself. Shields strained to absorb the feedback, and the crew worked furiously to stabilize the ship. For a tense few minutes, it seemed as though their daring maneuver might destroy them as well as the enemy, but their preparation, skill, and teamwork carried the day. The weapon had worked, and the Horizon emerged from the engagement battered but victorious. The alien fleet had been disrupted, and humanity had demonstrated for the first time that the invaders were not invincible. Following the battle, the crew analyzed the results carefully. They discovered that the pulse had caused cascading failures across the alien command network, leaving individual ships vulnerable to attack. This intelligence became invaluable, informing strategies for future engagements. The crew also realized that the weapon could be refined and adapted for multiple strikes, allowing them to exploit weaknesses with increasing precision. Every crew member understood that they were witnessing a turning point in the war, a chance for humanity to fight back and regain control of their destiny. Beyond the technical successes, the battle had a profound effect on morale. The crew of the Horizon felt a renewed sense of purpose and confidence. They had faced an enemy that had destroyed entire galaxies and had survived, proving that determination, creativity, and courage could overcome seemingly impossible odds. This victory was not just about technology. It was about the human spirit. Each member knew that the same resolve could be applied to future encounters, giving humanity a fighting chance where none had existed before. The secret weapon, however, was not a magic solution. Its deployment required careful planning, perfect execution, and constant adaptation. The alien fleets were vast, and one pulse, no matter how powerful, would not end the war. But it provided humanity with a critical edge, a way to challenge an opponent that had seemed unstoppable. The crew understood that they would need to continue refining their tactics, improving the weapon, and learning from every encounter. Each battle would be a test of skill, strategy, and endurance, and every victory, however small, would be a step toward survival. Amid the tension and danger, life aboard the Horizon continued with a strange mixture of normalcy and urgency. Crew members shared stories, moments of laughter, and quiet reflections on the stakes they faced. Even in the midst of a galaxy-spanning war, these human connections provided strength and resilience. They reminded everyone that the fight was not just about strategy or weapons, it was about protecting life, preserving hope, and defending everything humanity held dear. The bonds formed in these moments of crisis would prove vital in the battles to come. As the Horizon prepared for the next engagement, the crew knew that they had discovered a turning point. The alien armada was powerful, but it was not invincible. The secret weapon, combined with human ingenuity and courage, offered a chance to challenge the impossible. Every member of the crew carried the weight of this responsibility, but they also carried hope. The hope that one human warship could make a difference, that humanity could survive, and that the galaxy could still be protected from annihilation. The story of the Horizon and its secret weapon became a symbol of what humans could achieve when they faced the impossible. It was a testament to preparation, bravery, and relentless determination. The crew had learned that even in the darkest moments, one daring plan, executed with precision and courage, could create ripples across the galaxy. They had proven that humanity, despite its limitations, could stand against a foe that had destroyed countless civilizations, and that hope, ingenuity, and teamwork could turn the tide of history. The battle marked the beginning of a new phase in humanity's struggle. The crew had not only survived, they had won a small but meaningful victory. They had proven that even against overwhelming odds, one determined, well-prepared force could challenge the seemingly unstoppable. The Horizon had become more than a warship. It was a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope, and a reminder that courage and ingenuity were the greatest weapons humans had. The galaxy was dangerous, the enemy formidable, but for the first time humanity had proven that survival, and even victory, was possible. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The alien armada stretched across light years, their ships moving in perfect synchronization, a deadly tide of destruction that had already crushed countless civilizations. Humanity's fate rested on the shoulders of a single warship, the Horizon and its brave crew. They had faced the enemy before, testing humanity's secret weapon and gathering intelligence, but now the stakes were higher than ever. The coming battle would decide not just the survival of a few colonies, it would determine whether humanity itself would endure or vanish like so many worlds before it. As the horizon approached the enemy fleet, the crew could feel the weight of what lay ahead. Every officer, pilot, and engineer knew that this engagement would be unlike anything they had faced before. The alien ships were massive, their weapons far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built, and their tactics precise and ruthless. Communication among the alien vessels was instant, their coordination flawless. Any misstep could mean total annihilation. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, the crew was determined. They had a weapon, yes, but more importantly, they had the courage, ingenuity, and unity that no machine could replicate. The first contact was immediate and brutal. Alien scout ships darted forward like predatory sharks, testing the horizon's defenses. Beams of energy cut through the void, narrowly missing the warship as it maneuvered at impossible speeds. Pilots pushed the ship to its limits, performing evasive maneuvers that would have been impossible without intense training and perfect coordination. Engineers worked feverishly, adjusting shields, rerouting power, and preparing the secret weapon for deployment. Every second was a battle of life and death, and the crew felt the tension as a living thing pressing down on them. For hours, the horizon danced among the alien vessels, dodging blasts and striking at vulnerable points. The warship's agility and advanced technology allowed it to exploit gaps in the enemy formation. Pilots worked in perfect unison, weaving through enemy fire while delivering precise counterattacks. Engineers monitored energy levels, making split-second adjustments to keep the ship from being overwhelmed. Strategists analyzed enemy movements, predicting attacks before they happened and guiding the ship through a deadly maze of destruction. Every crew member played a vital role and every action mattered. Failure was unthinkable. Then came the decisive moment. The alien fleet's flagship loomed ahead, massive and menacing, its weapon systems capable of destroying the horizon with a single shot. The crew understood that taking down this vessel would create chaos in the enemy ranks, giving humanity a chance to strike a decisive blow. Pilots moved into position, drawing the attention of the alien ships and distracting them long enough for the horizon to unleash its secret weapon. Engineers fine-tuned the energy pulse, calibrating it for maximum disruption. Every calculation had to be perfect. One error could destroy the warship instead of the enemy flagship. When the weapon was finally activated, a wave of energy surged outward from the horizon, spreading like a shockwave across the enemy fleet. Ships shuddered as systems failed. Communication links went dark and formations collapsed. The alien armada, once an unstoppable force, became disorganized and vulnerable. Human ships that had been scattered and struggling now saw an opportunity. Inspired by the horizon's bravery, they began to strike back, attacking isolated enemy vessels with precision. The tide of battle shifted in an instant, proving that even a single warship, properly equipped and expertly commanded, could change the outcome of a galactic conflict. Despite the success, the battle was far from over. The alien fleet was massive and many ships remained operational. The horizon faced relentless counterattacks with energy beams, missiles, and other advanced weapons, targeting it relentlessly. Pilots and engineers worked together in perfect harmony, dodging attacks, stabilizing the ship, and striking back whenever possible. Each moment was a test of skill, courage, and endurance. The crew had to think faster than the enemy, anticipate moves before they happened, and adapt instantly to survive. The warship became a symphony of human determination and ingenuity, every system and person working as one to withstand the onslaught. As the battle raged, the crew witnessed the full scale of the alien armada's destruction. Entire colonies had already fallen. Planets were shattered, and debris floated endlessly in space. The horror of it weighed on the crew, but it also strengthened their resolve. They understood that this fight was not just about a single ship or even a single fleet. It was about preserving life, freedom, and the future of humanity. Every action, every maneuver, every calculated risk was a step toward survival and victory. The stakes could not have been higher, yet the crew remained focused, their determination unshakable. The chaos caused by the horizon's weapon created opportunities that had seemed impossible before. Alien ships, now confused and disorganized, were vulnerable to coordinated human attacks. Pilots seized the chance, striking with precision, taking down command vessels and crippling the enemy's ability to coordinate further attacks. Engineers and strategists on board the horizon monitored the evolving battlefield, constantly adjusting tactics to maximize the impact of every strike. The warship moved like a predator among its prey, exploiting weaknesses that the alien fleet had never anticipated. Amid the heat of battle, the crew's human qualities, courage, creativity, and teamwork proved more powerful than any weapon. They communicated flawlessly under pressure, made split-second decisions with consequences for billions of lives, and adapted to changing situations in ways no machine could. The alien fleet, though technologically superior, lacked the adaptability and unpredictability that humans brought to the fight. Each success reinforced the belief that humanity could survive, that ingenuity and courage could stand against forces that had conquered entire galaxies. The turning point of the battle came when the Horizon targeted the alien flagship directly. Using a combination of the secret weapon and precise maneuvers, the crew disrupted the vessel's systems, leaving it vulnerable to a concentrated attack. Human forces coordinated strikes, exploiting the chaos and weakening the alien command structure. The flagship shuddered, caught off guard by the unexpected audacity of a single human warship. Its destruction sent shockwaves through the remaining fleet, breaking formations and spreading confusion. The invaders, once confident in their unstoppable power, found themselves facing an enemy capable of defying expectation, courage, and ingenuity. The aftermath of the engagement was both victorious and sobering. The Horizon had survived, and the alien fleet had been thrown into chaos. But the battle had taken a toll. The crew was exhausted, systems were damaged, and the scale of destruction across the galaxy was staggering. Yet, for the first time, humanity had seen that victory was possible. The courage, determination, and skill of a single warship had demonstrated that even against an enemy that had destroyed countless civilizations, humans could survive and even turn the tide. The battle also had a profound effect on human morale. Across colonies and fleets, news of the Horizon's daring action spread like wildfire. People who had been on the brink of despair found hope. Soldiers and civilians alike drew inspiration from the bravery and ingenuity displayed by the crew. It was proof that determination, creativity, and teamwork could overcome fear and seemingly insurmountable odds. Humanity had witnessed a moment that would be remembered for generations, a single warship standing against an unstoppable force and emerging victorious. The Horizon's actions also provided critical intelligence for future engagements. Strategists analyzed the battle, studying the alien fleet's weaknesses and vulnerabilities revealed by the chaos. Engineers reviewed the performance of the secret weapon, planning refinements that could enhance its effectiveness in subsequent fights. Pilots debriefed, sharing observations that would improve tactics and maneuverability. Every aspect of the engagement became a lesson, a tool to prepare for the battles yet to come. The galaxy had been shaken and humanity was learning how to fight back. In the end, the battle proved a simple but powerful truth. Courage, ingenuity, and determination could challenge even the most formidable enemy. The crew of the Horizon had shown that a single human warship, when led by skill and united in purpose, could disrupt an armada that had conquered countless worlds. They had demonstrated that humanity's strength lay not in sheer numbers or technology alone, but in adaptability, creativity, and the will to survive. Their actions became a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. Though the galaxy was far from safe, the battle marked a turning point. Humanity had proven that even in the darkest times, victory was possible. The crew of the Horizon had earned their place in history, not only as warriors but as symbols of defiance, courage, and hope. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, reminding all of humanity that the future was not written by invaders or fate. It was written by those willing to fight, adapt, and persevere. The galaxy had been shaken, but humanity stood tall, ready to continue the struggle and protect everything it held dear. The battle had ended, and the galaxy was quiet for the first time in decades. The alien armada that had terrorized countless civilizations had retreated, leaving shattered fleets, ruined planets, and countless stories of destruction in its wake. Yet amidst the devastation, humanity had survived. The Horizon and its courageous crew had achieved what many thought impossible. They had stood against a force that had crushed entire galaxies and emerged victorious. The warship returned to human-controlled space, battered and scarred, but carrying with it a legacy that would inspire generations to come. As the Horizon approached Earth's orbit, the crew was greeted with a mixture of relief, awe, and celebration. People watched from every colony, space station, and planet as the warship returned, knowing that their survival had depended on the bravery and skill of a few extraordinary individuals. The atmosphere was electric with hope. Scientists, engineers, politicians, and civilians alike marveled at the courage that had turned the tide of humanity's fight. The crew, though exhausted and worn, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had faced death countless times, navigated impossible odds, and proven that humans could stand against forces far beyond their understanding. The aftermath of the war brought reflection and assessment. The galaxy had been forever changed by the presence of the alien invaders, and humanity had learned harsh but valuable lessons about strategy, courage, and resilience. Scientists began studying captured alien technology, trying to understand how it worked and how humanity could adapt it. Engineers pored over the horizon, analyzing the performance of its secret weapon and advanced systems, seeking ways to improve and enhance its capabilities. Pilots and tacticians examined every maneuver and decision made during the battle, refining strategies that could be applied in future conflicts. The victory was not a guarantee of safety, but it provided humanity with tools, knowledge, and confidence to defend itself in the battles yet to come. Even as humans celebrated, the crew of the Horizon knew the price of victory. The galaxy was littered with the remnants of civilizations that had fallen to the alien armada. Entire planets had been reduced to rubble, their inhabitants lost forever. The reality of what humanity had faced weighed heavily on the crew. They had stared into the void and seen what could happen if courage and ingenuity had failed. These experiences shaped them, forging a deeper understanding of their mission and the responsibility they bore. Their actions had saved billions, but they had also witnessed the fragility of life and the importance of protecting it. The warship itself became a symbol of hope and resilience. The Horizon was no longer just a vessel. It was a monument to human determination, ingenuity, and bravery. Across human-controlled space, stories of its daring maneuvers, strategic brilliance, and the heroism of its crew spread like wildfire. Children grew up hearing tales of the Horizon, dreaming of courage, adventure, and the idea that even the smallest force could stand against the greatest challenges. Politicians, military leaders, and educators emphasized the lessons learned from the warship's actions, using them to inspire new generations to innovate, cooperate, and face adversity with resolve. The crew, though celebrated as heroes, understood that their journey was not over. Humanity's survival depended not only on defeating enemies, but also on preparing for the unknown threats that might arise in the future. They worked with scientists, engineers, and military leaders to implement strategies, develop technology, and fortify defenses. Every lesson learned in battle was recorded, every system improved, and every tactic refined. The Horizon became both a training ground and a research platform, ensuring that humanity would continue to grow stronger in the face of adversity. Beyond strategy and technology, the victory had a profound impact on human society. The triumph of one ship against an unstoppable force became a story that united people across planets and colonies. Differences in politics, culture, and ideology were set aside in the face of a shared achievement. Humanity realized that survival and progress depended on cooperation, innovation, and courage. The Horizon's journey had demonstrated that even in the darkest times, hope could be found, and that determination and ingenuity could defy even the most insurmountable odds. The crew members themselves became living legends. Pilots, engineers, strategists, and every individual who had contributed to the Horizon's mission were recognized not only for their skill, but for their courage, creativity, and commitment. Their names were recorded in history books, museums, and archives, ensuring that future generations would remember the sacrifices and heroism required to save humanity. Yet despite the fame and recognition, the crew remained humble. They knew that their actions were part of a larger mission to protect life and preserve the future. Their bravery was remarkable, but it was their dedication, unity, and resilience that truly made the difference. In the years following the battle, humanity flourished in ways that had once seemed impossible. The technology recovered from the alien fleet accelerated scientific advancement, leading to breakthroughs in energy, travel, and defense. Colonies once on the brink of collapse now thrived, inspired by the story of the Horizon. Civilizations rebuilt, stronger and wiser, and humans spread further into the galaxy with renewed confidence. The lessons learned during the war influenced every aspect of society, from military tactics to education, governance, and even philosophy. Humanity had faced extinction and had survived, proving that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome the most impossible challenges. The legacy of the Horizon endured not only in technology and strategy, but in the hearts and minds of every human. It became a symbol of what could be achieved when individuals dared to act in the face of fear. Stories of the warship's bravery inspired artists, writers, and historians, capturing the imagination of future generations. Every child who dreamed of space exploration or heroism could look to the horizon and understand that courage and perseverance could change the course of history. The galaxy, once a place of terror and uncertainty, now held the promise of hope and resilience. Even as peace returned, the lessons of the past remained clear. Humanity knew that the universe was vast and unpredictable, filled with forces beyond comprehension. Yet the story of the Horizon proved that intelligence, courage, and unity could counter even the greatest threats. Humans had learned to value preparation, adaptability, and collaboration, and they understood that survival depended on more than strength. It depended on creativity, strategy, and the unbreakable human spirit. The warship's journey had shown that one determined force could change the fate of billions, and that even against an enemy that had crushed galaxies, victory was possible. The Horizon itself became a museum and training vessel, allowing future generations to study its systems, learn from its crew's experiences, and prepare for challenges yet unknown. Its decks, once filled with tension and fear, now carried stories of heroism and triumph. Every control panel, every navigation system, and every weapon served as a reminder of the courage it had taken to face the alien armada. Pilots trained in its corridors, engineers studied its technology, and strategists examined every maneuver, ensuring that humanity would never be caught unprepared again. The victory of the Horizon also reshaped humanity's place in the galaxy. Neighboring civilizations who had watched in fear as entire galaxies fell now recognized humanity as a force capable of resistance and innovation. Diplomacy, alliances, and trade began to flourish, with humans respected not only for their technology, but for their resilience and courage. The story of the Horizon became a foundation for new relations, a reminder that even a single determined force could alter the balance of power. Humanity's survival was no longer uncertain. It had earned its place among the stars. Finally, the crew of the Horizon reflected on their journey. They had faced an enemy that had destroyed entire civilizations, navigated impossible challenges, and risked everything for the survival of billions. They had seen destruction, loss, and fear, but they had also witnessed hope, ingenuity, and the extraordinary power of human determination. Their actions had changed history, inspired countless lives, and created a legacy that would endure across the galaxy. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could defy even the most powerful forces, and that humanity's spirit could not be extinguished. No matter how dark the universe might seem, the galaxy had been forever changed. But humanity had emerged stronger, wiser, and united. The Horizon and its crew had shown that even against impossible odds, one determined force could alter the fate of billions. Their story became a symbol of hope, courage, and resilience, a reminder that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology alone, but the unyielding spirit of those willing to fight for life, freedom, and the future. The battle was over, but the legacy endured, lighting the way for generations to come and proving that even in the darkest times, humanity could rise, survive, and thrive among the stars.